Hi dear, today our lesson is passive voice. This is the continuation of lesson first, the passive form of modals and phrasal modals. So modals can be divided into two categories, simple and phrasal. Simple modals are the most familiar as can, would, must, should, and others. While phrasal modals, also known as periphrastic modals, are phrases formed with the verbs be or have, as you can see from our image. So, some examples of phrasal modals are have got to or be allowed to, while simple modals and phrasal modals share similar meanings and are used in similar ways. They are not exact equivalents. So here it is the formula for the passive form. Modal plus be plus past participle to or ed at the end. So here it is the question. What is the difference between modals and phrasal modals? Simple modals are single words, while phrasal modals are phrases using the verbs be or have. So the simple modals on the board can be matched to a phrasal modal. The two models do not mean exactly the same thing, but they can be used in similar ways, like her writing should be fixed. Her writing should have been fixed. Here it is, models in the present passive modal plus be plus past participle. Or models in the past passive modal plus have been plus past participle too. Or ed at the end, as we do have on our slide. Fix it. Here it is, modal verbs in the passive voice. So, does modals have the passive form? Yes, it's true. We can use modal verbs in the past. We can use the passive voice in the past. Modal verbs in the past passive voice are verbs such as can, could, should. I told you that we often use to talk about ability, possibility, permission, obligation, no obligation, advice, habits, and reference. So in English, we use active and passive sentences. In the active voice, we start the sentence with the person who does the action. So, or Dua had the action, like in our example. So, Alice took the picture. Here it is, Dua. And in the passive voice, we begin the sentence with the object, which is the thing that takes or receives the action. The picture was taken by Alice. We can also omit Alice, the agent in this sentence, so it will just say the picture was taken. So go next and forward. We can see that passive structures, while they're a bit more confusing, they're also very useful because they allow us to create sentences without focusing on the person doing the action. So, how do we create modal verbs in the passive voice? With passive modal verbs in the present tense, we just add the auxiliary verb be to the modal verb and change the base verb to the past participle. Here it is. You should fix your computer, for example, or your computer should be fixed. They can do it. It can be done. He has to send that email. That email has to be sent. And many other examples. So we looked at the table, preceding table, and present table, and we see how we use other modal verbs in the passive voice. We use modal verbs in the passive. We can use the passive voice in the past. So, if that sounds too complicated, do not worry. It's just a matter of structure. You should know that. How is that? Your car could be sold. Your car could have been sold. A donation may be made. A donation may have been made. And many others. So, very important things is that we use must have been to share our assumptions or reaction to things that happened in the past. We often use this modal structure to guess about something that might have happened, not for obligation. Like, he doesn't work here anymore. He must have been fired. I called her yesterday, but she didn't answer. She must have been busy. Your trip to Colombia must have been exciting. If you would like to express a reaction or make a conclusion about the way a person is feeling now, you can use must be. Like, you have been working for 8 hours straight, you must be tired. They travel all the time, their lives must be so interesting. So you failed your exam, you must be disappointed. Why do we use modal verbs in the passive form, guys? Actually, that's the answer of our question. There are a few reasons why we use the passive voice in general. Listen to me carefully. You will often hear it used by news sources reporting on crime or major events where the actors are unknown. You will hear it used in formal and scientific writing because it's considered less personal and because this is especially the case in science. The result of a scientific study or breakthrough is considered more important than the people involved. But why we do use modal verbs in the passive voice? This is because it sounds more objective, less personal, especially in situations when we are asking people to do something or offering criticism or advice even. For instance, if your boss wants everyone to finish a project by a certain deadline, they want to sound firm, but not too rude or direct. So they might say this project has to be finished by the end of this week, instead of just saying you all have to finish this project by the end of this week. It is more politely, right? And when we are criticizing someone for something they didn't do, we often prefer to use modal verbs in the past passive voice because it doesn't sound like we are putting the blame or fault directly, straightly on someone. I should have been told that yesterday, instead of just saying, you should have told me that yesterday. We can also use it to take the blame or the attention of ourselves, as in our example, the wrong package may have been sent, instead of just saying, I may have sent in the wrong package. Well, we have explored modal verbs in the passive voice. So now it's time to practice by yourself.